Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is May 2nd, 2022. I am Salad Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. Welcome, Frankie, and welcome, F1 Grid. Hello, welcome. And today I am going to be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So let's get Facebook and YouTube up and ready. Okay, on YouTube Grid, let me stop this music for a moment here. I am a Salad Blue Sister. My turn to talk. So you should be able to bring it up that way. And on Facebook, I am Salad Blue Sister. All right, so welcome, Power Girl. So I am going to get started, but I'm going to be going between two things today. Facebook, I'm if comments come over, I can pull them out, but with YouTube, I got to kind of keep an eye on that one. So we will see how this works today. We will see how this works. So let me just change one thing for a moment. And there we go. All right. So if you are on YouTube or Facebook, if I'm not looking directly in the camera, it's because I'm looking at the screen because I have to follow the comments. So welcome, Lou Rock. Welcome. So we'll see if we can get comments coming off of YouTube and Facebook into Podbean. But welcome everyone on all the platforms. So today, welcome Brina, welcome. And Brina, I got it to work. And thanks to you and Frankie. Thank you for helping me out yesterday. Okay, so today I want to talk about the sins of the father or the mother. And how does parent wrongdoing affect children? And can it last for generations? So what I mean by that is, if your mother or father did something wrong, say they did something wrong and they had to go to prison, or they were or are a politician and they did something shady. Or let's say, your mother had a profession that society doesn't think was that great, or your father had a profession that society doesn't think was that great, and you turn out to be, oh, you're the daughter of, or you're the son of, um, you know, what does that do? You know, how does that affect you as a child, or even as an adult? Um, if people find out about things, hey, hey, Grit, thank you. You are here. Great. And I can actually pull you over and put your comments up there. So cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So what does that do? You know, uh, if you're that child or you are that adult, is that going to affect you when you want to go for a job? Does that affect a promotion? Does that affect the school that your child gets into, be it elementary school or high school, university? How does that affect you? And as we know, in some places, I mean, it wasn't like this when I was a child, but I hear in New York, it is really like this, that people are literally applying for, preschool and kindergarten when their kid is like born, which I think is crazy. And a lot of schools look at your background. They do a deep dive into who you are as a family. So if your parents did something and it wasn't something that was cool, you know, what if your mom stripped? She was a stripper, but she did it because she had to make money, and that was the only job she was able to get. She didn't take anyone home. She wasn't, having sex with these people. She was just going to work, doing her job, getting a paycheck to pay the rent or feed her family. So when you say the sins of the mother or father, do you as a parent, when you're thinking about some of the things that you're doing, and there are some things that you shouldn't do, um, welcome evangelist. I'll open it up in just a moment. So if you are a parent, your mom or dad, and you know that you may be doing something that isn't right, are you thinking about your child? Now, on this part, now I'm not talking about uh again, you're trying to feed your family, but I'm saying, if you're out there selling drugs or you're stealing cars or you're this politician who's just this horrible person that's taking kickbacks and you're embezzling whatever and you get caught, or you're a high profile person and you're in the news and everyone hears about what you supposedly did. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but the fact that you're there, your kids still have to go to school, your kids still have to go to work. What do you do? Now, see, evangelist left, I guess, because I wouldn't let him talk real quick, but I was going to let him talk. Brina says, I think it creates a perception of normalcy in kids. My mom was always getting locked up so I could understand someone judging me based on her actions. Hmm. Okay. All right. And Lurak says, I have two boys. I would never do anything to teach them wrong. I have always earned it the hard way. All right. So Mama Bear Tracy, welcome, welcome. So, Brina, when you say your mom was always getting locked up, so I could understand. Okay, okay, I'm sorry. I am reading that wrong. So, how did you get out of that? I mean, does that still follow you, or were you able? Did you have to move, or how did you get out of that? Okay, while I'm waiting for Brina to respond. Okay, so yeah, because this past weekend, I was watching the news, and I hadn't really watched the news much in the last two weeks or so because I'm really getting tired of hearing about the war. Welcome, Angie, and again, Angie, like Brina and Frankie yesterday. Thank you for popping in because I was trying to test this show over on YouTube. So thank you for joining in. So I was watching the news and I'm catching up on a lot, that was going on. And I'm hearing these stories about, you know, this robbery um, happened, or, this happened, or, something is always happening with someone where someone is getting locked up or they're being accused of something. Politicians are all over the news all the time. But do you, as a child, um, how do you reconcile that? And Brina says she had a stank attitude and would fight all the time. I have a stank attitude, but use my words instead. Okay. So even now, are you still judged by what your mom did? Because when you look at like Lou Rock says that that he has two boys and he would never do anything to teach them wrong. Um, what if you inadvertently did something? Okay, what if something happened that you did not mean to do? And when I say that, I mean, what if you're just hanging out with that wrong crowd and you're like wrong place, wrong time, and you get blamed for something? I mean, you look back at the Olympic bombing in, I do believe it was Atlanta. Someone correct me if I'm incorrect. The bombing of, was it 1996? I'm trying to remember. Was it 96 or was it? I'm getting my dates mixed up. It was either 84 or 96. I can't remember, but it was in Atlanta. And the FBI, they went in and they accused this guy, of being the bomber, and all his neighbors started, um, uh, vandalizing his home. They had the wrong guy. They had the wrong guy, and the FBI never went back and said they were sorry. They just said, "Oops, we have the wrong guy." Never apologized. Never really did anything to clear this guy's name. And even now, this guy walks around with the stigma as you are the bomber. So if you have kids, how do your kids get over that? You hear about people who, let's see, Lou Rock says, I would never do anything. I've hung out with that wrong crowd all the time, and I couldn't risk that for my freedom. You know what? You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Um, I would always teach my kids, politicians never have my kids' interest at heart. Okay. And Mama Bear says, not really. My throat. Okay. Sore. Thank you for asking me. How are you? Okay. I hope you feel better, Mama Bear. You know, um, but how do you do that? And Grit says the family will have to change their identity. But think about that. It's going to cost you more time and trouble and money to change your identity because of a oops. Because of someone else's oops. I mean, is that fair? Is it right? No, it isn't. But unfortunately, it happens. People are um accused all the time. We hear people who sit in prison right now. Some of them, not all of them, of course, but some of them are innocent. And Grit says, then sue the FBI for uh, for defamation. Okay, so you sue them. Let's say you get paid, but it's still out there. That negative narrative is still out there. How do you get people to think something different once something negative has already been put out into the atmosphere? And Lou Rex says, I'm going to jail as an immigrant. Okay, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to jail as an immigrant. I have a lot of risks that would remove me, America by law. Okay, I'm not understanding that last part. I have a lot of risks that would remove me, America by law. Are you saying that there are a lot of risks that would remove you from America, like by law, they would be able to put you out of the country? Is that how I'm reading that? Okay, and then Grit says, yeah, but then the money you get from the lawsuit you can use to change your identity. I can't and then LUROC says, I can't risk losing my residency. I'm smarter than that. I believe hard work pays off. Okay. Okay. So I want to address what Grit said first. Okay. So you get the money, you can change your identity. But I guess my point is, should you really have to? I mean, unless you put yourself in this situation. I mean, I can see if you were a witness to a crime and they had to put you in witness protection. I get that. But when it's like an oops, I mean, that's just like the kid in school who was accused of, stealing someone's pencil or stealing someone's lunch and it wasn't them. But kids still follow that person around. It's like, you stole so and so's lunch. I mean, even though they know who really did it. When people make an oopsie, a lot of people really don't want to hear the truth, even though if the truth is standing them straight in their face and they've been accused of something and you have the person who did it right next to them. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, here in America, you can, they say if you really didn't do something wrong, you better find the person that did it before you get convicted. Because once that jury says guilty, it's really hard to go for an appeal or to open up a case unless you have that person sitting right here who actually did it. And even then, it's hard. It's very hard. So I have to change my identity because you made a mistake. Okay, and then for LUROC, I also believe that hard work pays off. But there are people who take risks every single day, and I get it what you're saying about your residency. But there are people who are citizens born here who take risks every day by doing something stupid. By going into that bank and robbing that bank. By carjacking someone, by embezzling money, whatever. They take those risks every single day, and they that's what they choose to do. Okay, so Grit says, Solid, I would go through all that to save the trauma my kids would go through. Okay, all right, okay. And I totally get that. And Grit, I would do the same thing. Again, my point is, why should I have to? Because someone else messed up. I mean, you have a I mean, and this really isn't funny. You have well, actually, it isn't funny at all. I'm not even going to say this is really funny. Okay, and Brina says it's easy to get money back. All that time wasted is tough to swallow by trying to clear your name. Right. Okay. I would have done a lot worse things to do and make easy money. And some people do. They do. Take the easy money route. But there is a young man who was accused, I think it was about 3 months ago. He was in his 20s, African American. He was accused of, I think it was bank robbery. I have to go back and look because I know I tweeted about it on Twitter. And the person who actually did it was a 60-something white guy. And you put their pictures up next to each other. They look nothing alike. And all they told this kid was, oops. But yet, this is going to follow him. And not only, yes, you have the money and everything, but you also got to make sure that you go to these agencies to make sure you don't have a record, to make sure that stuff is totally off of your record and does not follow you around. Because someone can say, oh yeah, don't worry, and then you go for that job and then you don't get it because you're an ex-con, or you were arrested for this, what do you do? And I'm going to call women out for a moment. And Lurak says that's horrible, poor kid. False accusations can ruin your life forever. Yes, it can. And I'm going to call women out now because for women, we're all into this Me Too movement and everything, which I am fine with. I am fine with. However, you do have women out there for whatever reason, they accuse men of things that they shouldn't. They accuse men of things that they haven't done. You assaulted me, you raped me, for whatever reason. Be it for money, be it when you're young, you don't want your parents to find out because your father will kill you if he found out that you had sex with this person or whatever. So do I think that men assault women? Absolutely. Do I believe that women make false claims that it happened? Absolutely. And when you do that, you're ruining someone's life. Because if you don't take it back, that person can sit and rot in jail for years. And then they just have to, then their families are fighting for them, or you have to have a really dedicated attorney who's going to stick with you. But all that costs money. But even if you said it and you took it back, that person was arrested or whatever, and you took it back, it's already out there. So even if you say, "Oh, I really didn't mean it. I was upset because blah 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 blah," it's already out there. And Lurak says, knows, as a man and someone knows victims, I don't believe women make this up. I believe some women do. I absolutely believe some women do. And it's been proven that some women do. And Brina says that whole Me Too movement was hard. I feel some women are opportunists and use that for attention. And Brina, you feel the same. Sometimes women are bitter and want to be vengeful. Yes. I mean, and the same with men. Men can blame women for things that they didn't do. But when you put something out there, it's out there, and it sticks and it stays. So what do you do when that stuff sticks and it stays with your children? Okay. Brina says, I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Grit says, I know that very well. I was a victim of this once. Okay. Welcome, Trine Cat. I apologize, I didn't see you there. And welcome, MJKE. Welcome. So when you put it out there, it stays out there. And Brina says that's tough. She's sorry to Grit. And yes, you can retract statements. False accusations are illegal. They are. False accusations are illegal. But guess what? People do it every single day. Politicians are the main ones. But once something is out there, it's hard to reel it back in. So again, I say, what about your children? How does this affect you and your child? Guys, I am going to have to put this on hold for a moment because I moved my laptop and I forgot to plug my battery in. So I'm going to put this on hold for one moment. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Well, that was embarrassing. I apologize. Okay, I'd rather get up and leave than for the everything to end because I didn't have my battery plugged in. So I am back. Okay. Okay. So you guys were talking amongst yourself. Okay. Brina's hearing your music in my head. Hope everyone's having a great Monday. I hear elevator or home music. Hey, I didn't give you anything. You all had that silence. You know how you have to push the button if you don't want to hear anything, just hit zero or whatever. All right. Okay. So someone just sold me a new bed. That's funny. Okay. So, but seriously, guys, I mean, how do you as a child overcome? And when I say child, I'm also including adult children because you're still your parents' child. How do you just, you know, move on? I mean, what do you do? I mean, if I mean, think think about it. Um, okay, Rena says, I think outside influence plays a role in realizing the way you grew up is not right. Okay, teachers, friends, good mindset, good focus. Okay, so when I was in school, and this didn't happen to me, but it did happen to one of my classmates. I went to a Christian school, and to me, you go to a Christian school, that means that everyone there is supposed to be practicing, you know, kindness towards each other. But I had this one teacher who always picked on this one classmate. And I went to a really small Lutheran school where we had combo class. And a combo class is like first and second grade, third and fourth and fifth and sixth. And I went through that all the way through eighth grade. I was in a combo class. Um, and the school, like I said, it was a small school, so everyone pretty much knew everybody in all the grades. You knew everybody's name. You know, everybody knew everybody's parents. But this one kid um, came from a home where the parents were always fighting, and he would always come to school late. Um, he was always kind of, disheveled. Um, he wasn't dirty though. He wasn't a kid that, oh, you stink or you smell. He wasn't that. He wasn't that. Um, but he was always kind of sad. And come to find out that, his parents fought a lot. And he had an older brother, and his older brother, he graduated, went to another school. So he was pretty much there by himself in terms of having someone in his family having his back. But this one teacher used to always just pick on him. Your parents are this, and the reason why you don't come to school on time is because your parents. I mean, just horrible, 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 horrible. Until all the other children started going home, and we were telling our parents that, hey, Mrs. So and so, keep saying this to so and blah 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 blah. So the parents ended up going to the principal, and they had a meeting. And the teacher saw nothing wrong. She said, well, it's true. So the teacher she didn't get fired. She ended up quitting. She resigned. And, you know, but the damage had already been done because there were some kids, not just in our class, but in our school, who would tease him about the way he came to school. Your parents don't love each other. They fight all the time. And when he got into high school, we went to the same school. He had a rough time. He had a rough time. He was a loner, and there were times when he just looked so out of it. Thinking back now, I wonder if he would have taken his own life if he could have, because this kid was just depressed. And then from high school, you're meeting different kids, but the kids from grade school were teasing him. So the kids in high school who didn't know him, they were teasing him. So, and because your parents were fighting, but then again, at the same time, the teacher was the one who instigated it. So what do you do? Okay, Lou Reich says you're right, and I would never put my kids through something like that. It's a tough one for a kid to handle. I'm not sure how a kid handles something like that. Lou Reich says Catholic and Christian schools don't always have the best outcomes. People turn rebellious. This is true. And yes, Brina, it was sad. And I do not know what happened to him. I kept up with him until I was in my mid-20s, and then I don't know what happened to him. And Brina says, personally, I grew up in a really violent household. Because of it, I love school. My teachers were really nice to me. And that's good. You need someone who, if it's not your family who's helping you get through school life or something, you need school or someone, outside to help you get through your family life. And Lurach says, parents fighting is really hard to see on a daily basis. I've seen it my whole childhood. Okay, I'll always be at someone else's house if possible. Okay, all right. Hey, Saba, you are here. Welcome and welcome, Second Waiver 88. So, and anybody who, this is my first time, well, I started actually on YouTube, but I am streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So far, let's see. Okay, so again, I ask the choices that we make as parents, or if you're not a parent, the choices that you make as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, are those choices going to follow you around, that it will one day affect your children? Will that happen? What do you do? You know? Hey, Saba, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear background noise?
Oh, I heard somebody talking, but I don't hear it now.
Okay. So, what you're talking about, are you talking about like as a parent or just as a person in general who's going to procreate?
I'm talking about that, and I'm talking about if you were a child whose parents did something that affected you.
Well, I am a trap baby.
You are, I'm sorry,
Um,
a what baby?
a trap baby.
What is that?
My mother tried to trap my father
Oh, okay.
by having me.
Okay.
Um, and I sensed, like, very early on in life, that all the attention, not all the attention, but a lot of the attention that we got from our relatives was damage control. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was damage. They're always doing damage control because of the choices that my mother made and my father. And so I could say it definitely affected me because it made for like kind of an awkward mother daughter relationship.
Did you ever address that with your mom? I mean, even now as an adult?
Yeah, I have. Like I remember she always used to emphasize that she would never treat me differently or treat me bad, um, because her mother treated her badly because she hated her father. But she did treat me differently, and she did treat me bad. So, and she would often, when I was just sitting there being myself, and I would have my epiphanies, and I'm full of expression sometimes, and she would just stop me, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, you are just like your father," and she would seem really uncomfortable with that.
Hmm.
And she used to do things like frantically go look for her pills to take because she's suddenly having an anxiety attack because I made an expression like my father.
So if you were to have a child or adopt a child, however, would
Mhm.
you go out of your way to make sure that you didn't treat your child the same way?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even bring it up.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I want to read some of these comments. Okay. Grit says solid. There was an incident in South Africa. A white preschool teacher that was accused of racism for putting certain kids in sitting arrangements where some white kids sitting where some white kids were sitting together and some black kids sitting together. The photo that was taken didn't show that there was a black that there were black and white kids sitting together. This was done because some kids needed more attention than others. She lost her job. So again, that's what I mean. Once you put something out there and it's in the atmosphere, and again, she did it because some people needed more attention than others, and that does happen. I mean, in school, you have, okay, this table's going to sit together, and you're going to sit at the blue table, you're going to sit at the green table, or you're going to be with this group or whatever. Um, but once it's out there, I'm pretty sure she's known as the racist teacher. What do you do? I mean, even though it came back and said that I did this because of this, I did this because of this. You can have a very valid reason for something. How do you change a negative once it's out there? And Lurak says, I'm glad she got fired. As a teacher, she was separating races instead of uniting kids to know how to coexist. Okay, but Lurak, Grit said that it was done because some people needed more attention than others. So you think that it was done because she was separating the races? And I'm playing devil's advocate here. So, and Grit says, I don't agree with you. And Lurak says, Grit, my kid was separated from classmates and he would come home crying to me because he was centered out. Okay, Grit, did she do it? Wait, did she do it because she was racist? Oh, okay, I saw. Okay, did she do it because she was racist, or was it done to show a disparity in home life? Okay, great. You want to pop up and explain a little more, or okay, Grit is coming on.
Hey, how's it, everyone?
Hello, Grit. You have the mic.
Yeah, no, so just from reading the article, it's just that some of the kids were a bit slower than the others. So she categorized them in certain um, areas where she would give more attention to the kids that were slower than the other kids. Um, but when more investigation was done over this case, there were mixed race kids sitting together in some places. It's just that she had to give a little more attention to the kids that couldn't keep up with some of the other kids. And the one photo that was taken, they made it out to be a race issue where this white teacher was putting all the black kids in one section and all the white kids where it wasn't the case.
So, Lurak, do you have anything to say to that, or okay? And Brina says, okay, got it. So I'll wait for Lou Rock to respond. But once again, so Grid, do you know if she's teaching again? Did she attempt to get another job or?
No, solid. I don't know. I know she got fired. I don't know if she got another job somewhere else, but it was all like on the news. It was in the newspapers. She was branded as this racist teacher. So, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty tough for her to try to find another job somewhere teaching.
Okay, and then Brina says so. It was twisted by media.
Yeah, that's what it
As
seems like.
always.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, all right. And again, I say, once something is put out there, it's hard to take it back. I hope. I'm sorry, Scooter's here, and I'm sorry. He just makes me smile, and he makes me laugh. So welcome, Scooter. Welcome, welcome. So, once again, so how is if this teacher has children? Are their children? I mean, are her children being antagonized? And don't get me wrong, I am playing both sides because there are some teachers out there that do things like that. History shows it. You know, um, when you have a little girl who goes to school all by herself for an entire year because other people don't want to go to school with her because they think she has cooties, just because of color. But um, what do you do if either something's twisted by the media, where not all things are, not all things are. A lot of things are just twisted by people. So that story had to start somewhere. The media didn't just say, okay, we're going to say this teacher right here, or, we're going to say this. It had to start somewhere. It had to start in that classroom where somebody said something and then then it grew. Because that's how most stories start.
Solid.
Saba?
Media manipulates, and the people who make the media understand how people are going to take something, and you see how quickly that turned into to them thinking something twisted when you said clearly that it wasn't the case, and they immediately jumped on it. And so the way they word things and the choice of story that they're using is meant for a purpose, and that was exactly to create an uprise in a belief that there's racism going on. So it's all the media, but we do have to take some personal responsibility, of course, yes. And I suggest just stop paying attention to the media and stop giving them your time and energy.
Okay. All right. And that's fair, but I am going to say that I think the media is responsible for some things, but not everything. And I say that because was the media, I'm sorry, I am going to do this again. Was the media around when Adam and Eve were around? Was the media around when Romans and all this other stuff the way it is now? Was the media around in 1600 and 15, whatever? I mean, the media has, I mean, you can blame it. And yes, the media has definitely grown since we have social media, we have all these platforms, whatever.
Well, there was
But I
hieroglyphs.
still come back, to personal responsibility, because if you have that one person, and I'm gonna go back to women who accuse men of rape, you can have that one person who says it. And again, they put it out there, especially if it's a high profile person. And do I believe women get raped? Like I said, yes, I do. Absolutely. But like Brina said, there are women out there who do it for opportunity. And you put it out there and you say it. Yes, the media is going to take it. They're going to pick it up. And yes, absolutely. Do they stretch the truth? Absolutely. I'm not saying that they do. But there are some stories that are true. So that's just me. That's how I personally choose approach things. And as individuals, we have to pick and choose what is right, that someone's saying what is wrong. If you're not sure, go find out. Whatever. Don't necessarily listen to what someone else is saying. Whatever. Go find it out for yourself. But when you put something out there that's going to potentially ruin someone's life, you have to be careful, because not only is it ruining your life, whose life is it also going to ruin? And someone told me last week that when you do something, no matter how simple it is, and I had to think about it, you do something, no matter how simple it is, it affects at least 5 other people. You could be in the grocery store and just minding your own business, but that one person asks you, can you get that off the top shelf? You've helped them. You've made a difference in their life. They weren't able to reach it. You let somebody else go in traffic. You're affecting what they're doing. Everything that we do affects other people. So I'm not just going to, blame, but we do have individual responsibility. And that's just my opinion. You guys can push back. That is fine. But I just believe in individual responsibility, excuse me. And Lurak says, yes, people in control the masses. Is political cooties. Okay. Only I'm taking better be out of a bottle. Okay. Only drink. I'm taking better be out of the bottle. Lurak, I'm trying to follow that. Red Solo cup. Okay. So, what do? Welcome, Juju. And how much is individual responsibility responsible for things that are put out in the atmosphere? Juju, did you want to say something? You rarely do. Was that an accident? Okay. And Lurak says parents should be responsible for their kids, not the education system.
So this is why I push the knowledge of the 16 personality types so much, because what we're describing here with the media playing on humanity is social engineering. And if we understood the 16 personality types and how social engineering works, which is not that hard to learn, it just takes a little bit of dedication, we could come to understand this very easily and then protect ourselves and others from this social engineering.
Okay, but I'm not necessarily talking about social engineering. I mean, technically, what I'm basically trying to get at is that if you were accused of doing something when you were younger or as an adult, whether
Well, no,
you
I was
did
talking
it.
about the media.
No.
As far as
No. I understand that. No, I totally get that. But I'm just saying that I'm sorry, because my mind is thinking two separate things, because those are two entirely different
well, you were
different
talking about
subjects. And
personal responsibility.
right.
And I think that, this information is there. And so if any of us wanted to make a difference, that's like the biggest, most best thing we could do for ourselves and others is take personal responsibility and learn this knowledge.
Right. But what I'm okay, let me back up. I understand that, but I'm also saying that just going back to my original point, it got into the media when we were talking about the teacher who was fired. I'm talking about just my original
Okay.
question and topic. You know, what happens when you are accused of something that you did or did not do?
Hmm.
How does it affect your children in the long run? How does it affect
Oh,
your child? And Lurak says it's hard to clean accusations, even if you didn't do it. It tarnishes your image. And guys, and I just want to go back to, you know, when I said before that I hold a grudge, because I do. Okay, and a lot of it is not, you know, oh, you know, said this or you did this, oh, I'm not going to speak to you anymore. But it's those things that when people say or do things that you know are just so far off base, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want an apology. I don't want anyone coming back and saying, hey, let's be friends or something. No. You drew first blood. No. But again, I go back to the bombing, and Scooter or Shy Lady. Can you help me out with this? On was the Atlanta bombing for the Olympics, was that in 88 or was it in 96? Because I can't remember. Okay, 1996. All right. So,
Okay.
you know, so you have this out there, and they accused the wrong person. And all they said was oops. Like I said, no apology, no nothing. That wasn't the media. That was the FBI going in and getting this guy, bum rushing his house. You did it. You did it. We caught him. You put him through the perp walk. Yes, of course, the cameras are there and everything. But when they caught the right person or saw that this person didn't do it, it's like, oops. And that was it. But this guy is living with this crap for years. So, Shy Lady, welcome.
Hey,
Shy Lady, you are on.
I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I haven't been paying as close attention to the topic as I usually do because I'm out driving. So, update me or whatever briefly about what's been said or what do I need to comment on?
I mean, just basically, I'm just going to just give you the premise of the show. If your mother or father or you as a parent did anything in your whole life that was or was not true in a negative way, can it affect your children or your children's children? How are your children affected, be they young or as an adult?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that whatever you're taught by your parents, you pass it down, whether it's good or bad. You know, I've seen so many people. I like to watch cooking shows. I've seen so many people uh, do recipes on the Food Network, and they'll go, "Well, this is how my mom did it," and some of them don't know if there's actually a better way to do it. And I've looked at some things that people have done on there and said, I've never done it that way. I've done it differently, but that's how they were taught, and they don't want to break the cycle. But I think absolutely it definitely can affect your kids, whether they realize it or not, or whether you even realize that you're passing something down that was taught to you. So I definitely agree with that. And like I said, it could be something positive or negative, but it's definitely something that um, because you learn from your parents or whoever you grew up around. You learn their habits and you tend to repeat them because you've seen it. And sometimes you don't know if you're doing something good or something bad. And usually, if you once you get older, if you realize that that's not the way to go, then you'll make a change.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's a good point. But how do you fix it?
How do you fix it?
I mean, once something is put out there, once something is in the atmosphere, how do you fix it?
unfortunately for a lot of people, is too late. They've grown up and married or not married, but they've had their own kids and they've passed that down to their kids. So it's probably going to be up to the kids that you've created, that they realize that that's not the way to go, and they say, you know what, I'm breaking the cycle. Like I have um, my daughter has a friend who says that she was the product of parents that didn't marry, and she has several relatives that didn't marry, and she said, you know what, I'm going to break the cycle. I'm not going to be the one that continue to do that. I want to actually do it the right way. So that's an example of, it may be too late. If you've already done it, you've already produced a kid that you from a relationship that you weren't married to, but that child decides to say, you know what? I see my aunt, I see my grandmother, my mom. Nobody was married, but I'm not gonna let that happen. It's gonna stop with me. I'm not gonna be the one to continue it. So in that sense, you like I said, a lot of times it's too late to change. It's already done, but that next generation will have to see that a change needs to be made.
Okay. Now, Scooter said, when I said, how do you change it? He said, move to another country or planet. Brina, I think you could fix it by being open minded and exposure to alternate ways of thinking and doing things. And Lurak says it's not easy to fix, even if even if you can prove it to people that you aren't that person. uh and that's what I mean, because once something is out there, and yes, when the media gets a hold of it, it gets twisted every which way. But is there a way to stop things? Put like this. Again, I go back to the individual responsibility, because you as a parent know what you should and should not do. You as an adult, what you should and should not do. And not only, let's take the children out of it. Does it affect your family? Does it affect your family? Does it affect the people who you're friends with? Do your actions affect the people that you're hanging out with? Because everyone's going to say, well, weren't you hanging around with that group? I mean, you could have been home the night that, they broke into that store, or they robbed that bank. You could have been sitting at home playing Xbox or watching Netflix. But yeah, I always saw her running with that crowd, or he was always running with them. Who's to say that you're not going to get a knock at your door? What do you do?
It's such a broad idea. I think it depends on what it is. You know, could we make it more specific?
I'm just saying that the things that we do as an individual, and it is in a negative way, sooner or later may catch up to someone else who is close to you.
Okay, yeah. So I have relatives who have done bad things and have done prison time and time again, and having the same last name, going into certain cities. If somebody catches wind of that particular name, like they automatically um, associate them with those bad people. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely does. Could.
All right. And Lou Rock says, replying to Scooter, there's no other planet to sustain life. Elon Musk and Matt Damon need to hurry up. Brina, says even if you consider financial literacy, kids have bad money habits because their parents had bad habits. And Lurak is saying to me, well, you also need to take care of yourself so those things don't happen. I mean, and that is true. But Brina, brings up a point. You do have children who have bad money habits. You know, I was one of those people. Luckily, I never let it affect my credit because I learned my lesson early on in high school when I was zipping through my allowance, But what do you do? Because you have kids who look at their parents who just spend, 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 spend. They're not saving anything. How many homes, back in 2007, 2008, we had that housing boom, and then everything crashed and everybody had taken out these second mortgages and what have you, just so they can get a pool or buy a boat or whatever. Back in the day, you got a second mortgage if grandma had to go to the hospital and she needed an operation. You took out a second mortgage because your kids were going to college. You took out a second mortgage because you needed to redo the roof. Not so you can get another car, but again, this is passed down. Would you consider that a sin of a father or a mother? I don't know. And Lurak says that housing boom is happening as we speak right now. Yes, it is. It is. I mean, people are buying houses for double the amount that they're worth. And when they settle down and all the prices start to settle, my husband and I were looking, at our house, the other day, and we were shocked at how, and this is California where everything is so expensive. We were shocked at how much they say our house was worth. I mean, we have people coming all the time. You want to sell? You want to sell? No. I mean, so what am I supposed to do? Go buy another house that's worth twice as much? And no. But you can't blame. No, yes, the economy goes through cycles. The economy goes through cycles. I understand that. Welcome, Chill. Welcome, Mr. T, and welcome, John. I apologize for not welcoming Mr. T and John before, but again, I come back to, what do you all think about this? When politicians are running for office or they're in office or whatever, what do you guys think of children are off limits? And usually is children under the 18 are off limits.
When it comes to what?
Meaning don't say, okay, I'm getting okay, Saba. Okay, I'm sorry, I was just getting some feedback. Okay. I mean that like when Bill Clinton was running for president in the 90s, people always compared Chelsea Clinton to Al Gore's daughters. And they said some pretty nasty things about Chelsea. When the Bush girls were in the White House, they did some things that, they shouldn't have done. And I'm not even going to say they shouldn't have done. It's just the fact that they were in the public eye. So you found out about it. And then when the Obama girls were attacked and talked about, um, you know, even Barron Trump, when he was attacked and talked about, they say hands off the children. Do you think that's fair? And again, I'm playing both sides here. Do you think that's fair, or can you say, well, your mom or dad chose to run for office, so everything is fair game? Or as an individual, do you know what you just said about Chelsea or Jenna Bush or Barron Trump? that was messed up. You should not have said that. You should not have said that. So, Saba?
Yes, I think that the children should definitely be left out of it. I don't know what's really going on in the White House, but I know that children just shouldn't be in the public eye like that. That I think that is kind of that is like a violation, I think.
Okay. All right. All right. But again, people are crossing that line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the media, because you see things all the time where people are posting things. Oh, so and so, they look like a dog, or this person is this, or this person is. Can you see that person's kid? Whatever. So on one hand, you say, okay, I want to run for councilman, or I want to run for senator. How is this going to affect my family? And you look at Colin Powell. He didn't run for president because his wife was sick. There were things going on with her. So, do again, and not taking politicians out of it, just anything that you do, are you thinking about how in the long run it's going to affect you, it's going to affect your family, your kids, maybe the friends you hang out with? Are your actions going to affect someone else as a negative in the long run?
Well, if I was running for Senate and I had children, um, it's like, what am I not supposed to, do what I want to do for the community because of sick and twisted media people? I think that it's up to the individual who's consuming the media to think for themselves, think and maybe question themselves and question the media, and then also tap into their own personal code of ethics. Is this ethical? Um, and and am I thinking straight when I conclude on my judgment of this person in the media? And also, like, are we taking personal responsibility when we hear things about children? Are we're saying, oh, that's interesting, or are we saying, oh, they should leave them out of the media? Like, I completely throw out anything the media is telling me when they're violating a minor like that.
Well, and I understand that, but again, the media is not doing it. If a politician gets up on camera and says, and you're giving a press conference, and you start talking about somebody's child, and you're on stage, and or you're giving a conference or something, and the media is there, and it is live. That's not the media. That's that person doing it. You
Who's
have
that person?
politicians. You have politicians who attack each other all the time. That's not the
Yeah.
media. That is
Well,
individual responsibility. Those are individuals who have made a choice that I'm going to say this about that person, or I'm going to say this or that just so they can get that edge. Is the media there? Yes.
do they
So
emphasize on it? Do they make it a
yes,
headline?
yes. But
Okay,
at
and
the
then
same thing,
are you going to vote for that person?
but at maybe I don't know. But at the same time, what I'm saying is the person put it out there first. Yeah, I
Right.
can,
Okay.
I can take it and I can run with it as as a journalist, whatever. I can run with it. But who's the one that gave me the story? That's
Okay.
just like go ahead.
You're giving me a lot of twists and turns here. I didn't know you were going to steer it that way. That's very specific. Okay. I would not vote for that person personally
Okay, okay. I mean,
because that
and
goes against my code of ethics.
okay, and that's fine. And last week, Bara and I were going back and forth about that very thing. But I'm just saying that does individual responsibility ultimately affect what happens with our children? And hold on, I just want to read some of these comments. Lou Rock says, I blame politicians for how bad things have become. Rena says, unfortunately, people with close ties to those with undesirable reputations will have to work harder to stand out as a better person. Our president sniffs children, so this is how bad our options are. And we have other people who are grabbing people. Kids can pick up bad habits from kids that have been taught bad habits from their home, and then the good parents get blamed for it. Okay, and Brina says 99% of politicians are worthless. I agree, but I also believe the media psychologically. Psychology and how to word things in a way to influence people. I do agree with that. So, I mean, I personally think, and people can push back on me. I personally think the individual responsibility are, I mean, it goes a long way. Now, Lou Rock says Obama gave 4 purple meat medals to people who are convicted perverts. Yeah, but you look at, who the other guy pardoned and gave jobs to. So we can keep doing this. We can do this all day and say, well, this person did this and this person did that. We can do that all day long because everybody can match one for the other. You know, but and you said this can't be our best option. And I feel like I'm going through a time tunnel because this is a repeat of last week's show. But again, you know, we have no best options anymore. Or did we ever? Did we ever have best options? Because what may be a best option for you may not be a best option for me.
So
You
this
know,
is why
so what do you do?
this is why we need to take care of who we become close friends with or frequent acquaintances with, because I think that when we check each other, it actually makes a difference. So if you surround yourself with friends who are about truth and are about integrity and are honest and everything and prudish, like, or whatever you want to be like, hang out with those people. That kills 2 birds with 1 stone. um, so you're less likely to get blamed for something you didn't do by association. And also, if you're around people who can check you, if you check each other, sometimes that's our best bet, because a lot of the time we're so unwittingly ignorant about things. And so vulnerability and communication and steady socializing I think is key.
Okay, all right, and you make very good points. Lurak says because our media controls our options, the establishment controls out options. I agree, and I disagree. Um, you have choices. You know, I said before that your mom says, hold on, welcome the only crazy lady. Your mom says you can either have broccoli or you can have spinach, but you're going to eat a green vegetable. Something on that plate better be green. These are your options. You may not like your options, but you have to choose one, or you don't choose one and you get in trouble. I mean, this is called life. So, this is called life. But when we do things knowingly, can affect our children. Like I said, there's some things that you just don't do, that you just shouldn't do. And your past can catch up with you. It very well can. Your child may want to, run for office one day, but you were doing something that you shouldn't have done. And they do that deep dive into not just you, but your entire family, and they bring this up. And this happened. Or you got up on TV or in front of the mic and you said something stupid. We've all done it.
That's true.
So,
And you know what? It could be used for a positive thing. If you turn out to be a decent person, but someone in your family had a past and maybe it affected you and you lived to tell about it, and you grew stronger from it, it could be a positive, because we are all human, and I think we all understand that, and I think we can all, come to terms with getting through hard times.
okay. All right. And Grit says, like I said last week, there's no perfect person. And then Lou Rock says there's only been one in 22 years. I'm not understanding what you're saying, Lou Rock. You're saying there's only been one good politician in 2022? Are you saying there's only been one in 2022 years? I'm not understanding that. And Brian says more Jesus. And again, we just did a show on friendly differences on Saturday about spirituality and religion. And for me, I personally think that we need to turn to faith and to God. But that's just me. And Brina says less politics, and I can say that too. Less politics. Um, because we are all products of our environment, the only crazy lady says, and could never count on, Brina says, could never count on how many times I've said something stupid. Grit, all I'm saying, I was brought up to respect the elders, and now my kids respect their elders. I still call someone older than me Uncle Dave or Auntie Carol. And Lurak says, one perfect person in 2020. Okay, you keep putting this years. Do you mean in 2022? Because who was the perfect person? There was no perfect person. Because perfect people don't exist. Well, Jesus, okay, if you want to say Jesus, oh, okay, but in terms of humans, no one's perfect. So, Chill, thank you for waiting patiently. How are you today?
Hey, everybody.
And behave, because you are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook.
When do I ever never behave? I've always behaved. I behave?
I'm just teasing you.
I'm being
Come
have.
on.
So,
Hey, Sava. What's up,
welcome,
everybody?
welcome.
But yeah, it was interesting that you gave first and foremost, kids definitely are in play. That's what I wanted to say. Kids are in play. You got some badass kids doing coke, partying, ravishing and raving. They don't go to jail. Nothing happens. You get to call that out. Teenagers being teenagers, yeah, but you're gonna if you run for office, you're not excluded from any of that, because that's your parenting skills sometimes at its core. And if you can't be for me, you can't even be a good parent. That may be some gauges that you may not be able to run the world. You can't even run your own household, or you can't raise your own kids. You're probably more into politician into you than you are into running the family. And running the family is kind of like, to some degree, a small can be a small country. I want to know that you kind of have some type of pulse on that. People gonna do crazy stuff, but when you out of hand, that tells me a lot about your parenting skills, which questions me. I mean, that's how I think as a politician. How you gonna run a country and you can't even
But
You
what
know,
if you're
keep the
not
house in
a
order.
politician? What if you're just everyday Joe Blow and you're out there,
Well, I
doing
mean,
doing drugs, selling drugs, you know, robbing banks, whatever. I mean, still that's something, that can come back later on. It's not just politicians, it's everybody.
I mean, you were talking in reference to our kids out of line. I thought you were meaning in reference to the political spectrum.
Oh well,
No,
yeah, for that, yeah, but that's
yeah.
why I said, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Don't be trying to move the goalposts on me now. Yeah,
but I'm
look,
still gonna
you
come
after
back
me
to that.
already.
Go
You
ahead.
ready? She ready. She ready today. Oh, okay. Um, what in general? Like you gotta, they gotta be in play. You know, yo, man, I'm telling you, like some of the stuff that we used to do in the hood, man. I mean, we was crazy, but I would go out in some other places, like, man, this just like I had a friend. Well, kind of like my mom dated a guy who had a mom as a judge. His son used to do crazy stuff. Some of stuff I wouldn't even fathom. With the drugs, like robbing cars and stuff. I mean, I did some mischievous stuff when I got older, but I never like was a thief, like busting in people's houses, gunpoints. You know what I mean? Or like stuff like that. Like you get some of these stories from these other, and they ain't even hood. Like so, it's out in the suburb. These kids don't get not a pat on the wrist. And you tell me that if I'm another politician running for office, I'm not gonna mention that? Ah, there's people horrible out here. You know, they gonna mention it. They gonna be. I mean,
That's
whether you
that's
like it or
that's what
not,
that's what I'm saying. If you're out there doing stuff, then people are going to mention it. It
it
is
don't
going
even
to come
sound
up.
like you need to be a politician. It sounds like you need to be a father. You know what I'm saying at that point, or a mother at that point. That's what it sounds like to me. You need to take the last thing you need to be doing is running for office. So I mean, and that's just my opinion about it. I mean, I could be definitely wrong. I'm not there. I'm outside looking in, so it's always dangerous. I don't really like to speak about complete situations I don't know about, but things are what they are at the same time. So you can have an opinion to you held differently, no differently. But not that it means much, but that matters to me. Like I was like, man, if you got a bunch of kids going rogue, I don't know that, and the respect for you, also your wife respect. Like I'm looking at how your wife reveres you, your kids revere you. If they respect you and they run for office, typically they wouldn't want to do nothing like that. Because when you get 16, 17, 15, you kind of have some type of sense. You know, man, you ain't grown, but you have some type of sense.
Not
That
not
that
not
matters.
not always, because there's high school
Of
kids.
course, I'm not talking about the exception. I'm talking about in general. When you 16, 17, of course you normally have some type of like knowing that you're a father. And my father is Trump or Obama or you know what I mean. You're gonna have you've been wearing that most of your life. So to rebel at that point is something going on. So yeah.
Right. So in this way, and now I'm taking it away from politicians and I'm putting it into everyday folk. For everyday people, you have the same responsibility. Everyday people should still, not do things that may incur something coming back to them or their children at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree,
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
so
of course, yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, if you're, you know, mom went to jail for something, then kids will probably tease you if they find out. If your father went to jail, because he robbed a bank, kids are probably going to tease you when you when if they found out. When you go for
Well,
that job interview, they may say, "Well, aren't you so and so's kid? Well, didn't your father do this, or didn't your mother do this?" So that's what I'm saying. How does a parent's wrongdoing, can it last for generations? How does it affect children? Not just politicians, but for everybody.
I mean, hell, you just said it. It can be damning in some senses, like you just said it. But for the most part, we all do know if you're a parent that shit ain't that easy. It ain't no book. Your kid, you can be the greatest parent in the world, and your kids still go out and do some crazy stuff. Now, I'm not saying that ain't the case, but I'm just saying if it's a thought process what you go into. So when you think about somebody, you know what I mean. But I mean, ultimately, we have to make that decision for ourselves. You know, listen, if it was about hiring people, I don't care about. We talking about politicians in the public eye. That may make a, but when it's just coming to being an engineer or the locals McDonald's grill manager, come on, nobody don't give a damn about that.
Okay. And I want to read some of these comments. Lurak says, I actually think we need more regular people in government. Lifelong politicians don't care about anything. And then he says the majority of high crime and high violence cities are all Democratic cities. And that may be true, but a lot of the poorest cities, uh, I stand corrected. A lot of the poorest states are all
Who said
red.
that?
So
Who
I
said?
mean,
Who? No, no. Time out. Who said that?
about what?
That what
the
you just
the
said
the majority
about?
of a crime
Yeah,
that
yeah. Who
was
said that?
that was Lurock, and I'm just saying to him that the majority of poor states are all red. I mean, again, you can
I,
keep throwing this out and trying to
no,
make it
no.
a
Yeah, I could
left thing,
disagree.
left thing,
But
right
hold
thing,
on one
whatever.
second, Solid. I want to say something that I feel is incorrect. Now, do they arrest people more in the hood because it's easier? Yeah, but do you think for 1 minute that the jails are 88% or not something like black? You think that the black folks are only people who commit crimes, or minorities commit crimes, and we're only 13% of America? That got to be crazy. So they may not arrest people, you know what I mean, much as in those other states, and those less condensed cities, but crime is had because I've been in those areas, unfortunately, and not in some of the good realms and bad realms for bad reasons and good reasons. But crime, now you might know the policeman that comes knocking at your door to, hey, cut that shit out in some of these areas because they live next to them and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily it's a black or white thing, but like these like hick towns or just like or like rural areas, like a lot those places like I've been in and I'm like, oh, they know, damn, they know that that's their policeman is the cousin. You know what I'm saying? They don't do crime. They don't shoot. They don't do. You know what I'm saying? It happens. It's just statistically, I think it's skewed because of how we operate in America to some degree. Now, obviously, poor folks gonna do crime, but I don't think the black folks is the only poor folks doing crime, filling up the jailhouses. Now that has to be something wrong with that.
And Chill, we talked about this. We talked about this with Balram. We were talking about this, and Chill brings up a very valid point. So you can say the Democratic cities have all the crime and what have you, but then again, who's getting charged more? Whose crimes are being actually written down in the book, and whose aren't? So again, I don't want to get back into this. You know, the left is doing this, the right is doing this, because Lou Rock, for everything that
Yeah,
you say is wrong with the left, I can say something's wrong with
yeah, that's definitely a
with
rat
the right,
race.
and then it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we get nowhere.
But I
And
could take it a step further though, Solid. I could say that us questioning the politicians where the politicians they are put in place by corporations, which corporations run the world. I mean, you can't see that. You don't know the structure of how things made up. So
mhm.
it's not about the politicians. The politicians are being picked. They're not being like some of them, I guess, go into it and then they got to play the game. But they'll get picked regardless. They can start on a local level and they're still getting picked. Hey, this councilman seems like he can fit our ride, fit our bill. Let's soup him up. Let's start donating to his cause. It may be seeming altruistic, but I mean, he's not. Politicians aren't running the government at all. You don't have lobbyists coming through throwing millions of dollars at these people and think that these people are actually running the country. No, it's not. It's
No, no,
impossible.
and no, and I understand that. I'm just making a point that for
So
everything that one
questioning them,
person says on about one side,
yeah.
somebody can else say something about another side. All we're doing is
Right,
just
right,
it's
right,
just
right.
it's just slinging mud,
It's
whatever,
right.
and
It's
keeping up,
right, right. I got
the
you.
divisiveness of this
Right, right.
country.
Yeah, I
And
don't think it. Yeah, I don't think one side. You gotta be delusional if you think one side is better than the other. For me, like, because that means you're not really paying attention to how things are built. But overall, I mean, I think for the most part, you get into that type of stuff, you got to realize that these people aren't acting on their own. The reason the good politicians don't get put in office, they get pushed out because they don't have the funding. They don't have the backing. You need all of that, but you need corporations. Therefore, when I need something done, I'm Bill Gates. I'm gonna send my cronies that don't nobody know to be your campaign manager. So yeah, it's those politicians aren't there. They're not one of themselves. You're not seeing what you're seeing. There's some shit that's going on behind the doors that you just, and that's why I think it's a moot point to really argue over the system, because the system is that way in place for a reason. And so when you say, you got the spinach or the broccoli, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And it's just, I mean, we're getting forced to take a pick, but it's a point to where you like, you know what? I don't like either one of them. Both of them bad for me. It might be that
Okay.
spinach or the broccoli. It
I
might
mean,
be the pizza or the cereal. And I don't learn that none of them good for me. So I ain't eating none of that shit. I'd rather starve to death, or I'll go out and do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just talking about the system in general, not
no,
necessarily. I'm
and
just using that example for
no,
for
and I understand that. I want to give Crazy Lady a chance.
Go ahead.
Crazy,
I'm sorry.
you've been waiting patiently. How are you? Welcome.
God, I was going to say so many things for different things that I lost count.
Well, I know that you did say that for the longest, the capital of the drug capital of the world of the U.S. was,
Oh yeah,
was Kalispell,
Kalispell, Montana.
Okay.
Okay, and trust me, there ain't no there's very few African Americans in that town. Okay, so the that was just a random. I knew that.
But I bet you it's way more arrests in Chicago and in some of these bigger cities, as far as even ratio wise.
Oh yeah,
than it is in some of those towns.
but it was
and
like,
that's what I'm saying.
Something like what the gears that are the system isn't running correctly because the gears need to be replaced. That's why I always like that what is that movie, Brewster's Million, when it had Richard Pryor in it, when he had a campaign and none of the above. If we don't like any of the politicians, then it's up to us to say, hey, you know what? No, forget that. We don't like any of these guys. I think, personally, that would make a statement in itself. And with the I've had shady past, and if my daughter ever ran for politician stuff, it would come up, but she could use it for, hey, look, my mother did this and I rose above it, which she did, and became a better person for it, in that sense. But generational wise, that's more like a lot of it could be like psychological, dysfunctions of the family, that we do unconsciously, not even knowing we're doing it. Like being emotionally unavailable. I did not know I had that trait in me until I got older, and I'm like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. But I already passed that trait on to my kids, and my daughter's now trying with me to break that, us being emotionally unattached for other humans, and that's all I have to say.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's see. Lurak says crime rates have risen since he got into office, and majority of populated cities in America are run by Democrats. So, okay, Lurak, I again, I have said that we can mudslinging can go both ways, but I'm not going to do that, because I recognize that both of them, there are issues on both sides, and in 2016 unleashed something that was just more powerful than to me, more powerful than any drug. So whatever, so Lurak says, I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative Christian. And Crazy Lady says, I personally don't support any tier of our government that is in place. So again, We, of course, have again jumped off the original premise of the show, but that's fine. That's what this show does. The conversations do evolve. So, on that note, does anything, I'll start with Saba. Do you have anything that you would like to add before I ask everybody to leave the panel? Because I want to make an announcement. Saba?
Sure. So to your original topic, some people shouldn't have kids because of their families and because of themselves as well. But it when it just comes to a point where you cannot sustain a family, um, or you can't control yourself, um, or like you're just not going to get any support from your family because all their resources have been used up. Um, that's why I never wanted kids. I don't think I would have wanted them really anyways, but I that's why I felt a-okay with not having kids, because I looked back at my family and looked at my future and I was like, oh yeah, this is not going to work. And that's where I took personal responsibility. And I think there's a lot of people out there who don't take that into account. And
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
that's all I have to say
Shy,
about that.
okay. Shy Lady, are you still here? I know you said you were in your car. Are you still here or are you gone? Okay, I do believe Shy Lady has gone. Chill.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'll break up here, my bad. I think we obviously can um, things we do, how we do it, but it can go in different ways. And so biologically, I could be a shitty parent, and my child, I have no dad. My dad wasn't there that much, so therefore I want to make sure I don't miss nothing in my child's life. If I this I have to. Sometimes you may even overcorrect, right? And so it can work either way. I think it depends on the person and how they come along. But I mean mainly, and that's kind of something we can't gauge. You know how a person biologically will be respond to pressure. Will they run or fight? Will it make them stronger or make them less than in some people's eyes? Really, that's something hard. I don't think we can really gauge that because I guess we can go our averages. Most of all, if this happens, more likely your kid may happen to do this and the third. But if you get to live to be, it's cycles. You may be shitty at first and end up being, a great leader. Who knows? But for the most part, I think it's just biologically how we made up and how we respond. Obviously our body does affect us, but I don't think it's just only our parents, because you can have great parents and you're in a shitty environment, they can be influenced more so by their peers than anything. So those are things that we don't think about when we have kids. We may have the best thought process of having kids in our own home, but we don't think about where we at, the environment they'll be around. So, it's just, and it goes the opposite way. And so, and like what Saba said, like it's cool if you get that introspective outlook, but a lot of people don't think that hard into it. They're in love with a man, they just want to have a baby by him, and they're not thinking that deep into it. They think they're going to be good because the denial is that great, and they don't see nothing but the future with them in it. So they made a miscalculation. So that's typically why, or they're just not in the right place. So it's kind of be apples and oranges in that sense. But I wish everybody was like that. But since they're not, we just got to deal with what we have, right? And so other people reach out. I got a lot of guidance from coaches, teachers, and I just took it from everybody I could. And sometimes it goes the opposite way. I think that's just life.
Okay. Crazy Lady? Are you there, Crazy Lady?
Yeah, I was just trying to be honest. Like, okay, and there's, the Ted Bundys, uh, middle class, normal, uh, you know, upbringing wasn't, there was no traumas in his past and stuff. And look, one of the serial killers, uh, you know, you never know. Sometimes it may be like something genetically wrong, or, that was the point I was making in chat.
Okay. All right. So again, the original, I wasn't trying to say about you shouldn't have kids, you should have kids, whatever. My whole point was whatever you do as a child, as an adult, as a teenager, somewhere along the line, will what you do affect your children? So I wasn't talking about whether or not you decide to have children, whatever. I'm just saying somewhere along the line, does it affect what your children are going to have to deal with? Welcome, Blunt Ninja. So that was my whole thing. So I am going to ask that everyone leave the panel because I am going to end the show, and there are a couple of things that I want to say. So last week, last Wednesday to be exact, I got some pushback on something that I said about voting, and why vote for these people. And I had a conversation later on with someone who said that I didn't like the pushback, and if I have topics like this, that I get what I got, whatever. And that if I'm going to have a show that says that people can speak whatever they want to say, then I should be ready for the pushback. And I responded to this person by saying, you can push back on me. You can push back on me however much you want. But I also have the right to push back on you. And anyone who has been on my show knows that you guys can come up here and you can speak and say whatever you want, as long as we're not calling anybody out of their name, using any type of slur, whatever. You can say whatever the hell you want. We may not always think that what someone is saying is in tune to what we believe, but vice versa. So, I am going to say this one last time. And if you're listening to the show, whatever, it is up to you. I have different topics on this show. I have topics that I know are going to push buttons. There are topics that have pushed my buttons. But when it comes to voting, I feel, me personally, I'm not speaking for everyone, I'm speaking for myself. As I explained, I feel that I have an obligation to the people who came before me who did not have the right to vote. I choose the lesser of two evils. Now, you can say don't vote. You can say I am a hypocrite. That is fine. But that's my belief, and that is why I vote, and I will always vote until the day I die. So you can either accept it or not. The other thing I wanted to address again are people coming on my show. If any of you guys believe that I'm a hypocrite, when I say that you guys, anybody, you all can come up and say whatever you want. If anybody ever feels that I've never done that, call me out. But I know that I have. I know that I have let people come on and say whatever the hell they want. But if someone's going to push back, I'm going to let them push back. If I want to push back, I'm going to push back. So my third and last point is, so if anyone feels that this format is not for them or they don't like it, don't come on the show. Of course, I hope that you do, but everyone has choices. I'm not making anyone come on this show. If there are some topics that you see, and I try to post my topics for the week so everyone knows what they are. Even though this week I haven't done the other two because I'm not sure. But if there's a topic that you don't like or you think is going to trigger you or, is not your thing, don't come on. But if you do come on and if you do make a comment, and if I don't like it in terms of me disagreeing, I'm going to push back. And if other people disagree, they're going to push back. They can push back. But for anyone to say that I have never allowed anyone to come on my show and not say what they want to say blatantly, you're not telling the truth. That is a blatant lie. So, on that note, I hope to see you tomorrow. But again, we all have choices. There are lots of choices out there. So on that note, everyone enjoy the rest of their afternoon, their evening, wherever you are. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And for people who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, I do believe I got it right. So I will be streaming on both platforms going forward. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Bye. And thank you, Saba, Grid, Grina, Lurock, Smoke, Power Girl, Frankie, Chill Will, and everyone else who is here. Thank you. John, thank you. Thank you, Brina. Thank you, Lurock. Okay, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.